You make a man cry because your love shines a light on the parts of him he's hid even from himself. Tears fall when your presence reminds him that he doesn't have to carry the world alone anymore. You make a man cry by breaking through the silence with a love so pure it awakens his soul. Your honesty makes a man cry because it's the first time he's heard the truth spoken with kindness. You make a man cry when your love reveals the strength in his vulnerability and the courage in his tears. Sometimes tears are the language of a heart finally finding its way back to love through you. You make a man cry because your love is the safe space where his deepest fears meet healing. There is a tenderness in your touch that invites a man to let go and surrender to the moment. You make a man cry by showing him the beauty in brokenness and the power in healing. Tears flow freely when your love melts away the years of loneliness and doubt he's carried. You make a man cry because you love him enough to see past his flaws and into his soul. Sometimes tears are the quiet thank you of a heart that has finally been truly seen. You make a man cry by simply holding his hand and saying, "You're not alone anymore." Your love awakens emotions so deep that tears become the language of a soul reborn. You make a man cry when your presence touches the parts of him he's kept hidden for too long. There's a sacredness in your gaze that calls forth tears as a form of release and renewal. You make a man cry because your love is the balm that soothes old wounds and ignites new hope. Tears fall when a man realizes your love has the power to heal what was once thought broken beyond repair. You make a man cry by loving him with such honesty that it breaks through every layer of pain. Sometimes, tears are the only way a man can express the depth of gratitude for your love. You make a man cry because your love teaches him that vulnerability is a sign of true strength. Your presence creates a sanctuary where tears flow freely and hearts are mended. You make a man cry when your love becomes the light that guides him out of darkness. There's a power in your softness that breaks down his defenses and invites deep healing. You make a man cry by showing him that his tears are not weakness, but the courage to feel. Tears flow when your love reminds him that he's worthy of tenderness and compassion. You make a man cry because your love is a mirror reflecting his true worth and beauty. Sometimes tears are the silent prayers of a heart finally finding peace in your embrace. You make a man cry by holding space for his pain and offering unconditional love. Your love awakens a man's heart, making tears the language of transformation and hope. You make a man cry when your honesty invites him to confront and release his deepest fears. There's a sacred beauty in the way your love invites tears as a step toward healing. You make a man cry because your love is the safe harbor where he can finally be himself. Tears fall when a man realizes that your love is a powerful force for his renewal. You make a man cry by loving him in a way that breaks down every wall he's built. Sometimes tears are the soul's way of expressing gratitude for the love you give. You make a man cry because your love teaches him the power of vulnerability and trust. Your presence invites a man to shed the weight of pretenses and embrace his truth. You make a man cry when your love becomes the bridge between his pain and his healing. There's a sacred tenderness in your touch that makes tears flow like a gentle river. You make a man cry by showing him that it's okay to feel deeply and love without fear. Tears flow freely because your love creates a space where he can be completely vulnerable. You make a man cry because your love is a light that shines through the darkest nights. Sometimes tears are the quiet testimony of a heart that has been deeply touched by you. You make a man cry by loving him with such depth that his soul is awakened and healed. Your love invites tears as a natural release of the emotions he's long held inside. You make a man cry when your love reminds him that he is worthy of all tenderness and care. There is a sacred honesty in your love that invites a man to drop his guard and cry freely. You make a man cry because your love is the balm that soothes and restores his weary heart. Tears fall when your love becomes the voice of his deepest truth and vulnerability. You make a man cry by simply being present and holding space for his real emotions. Sometimes tears are the soul's way of thanking you for your unconditional love and acceptance. You make a man cry because your love breaks down the barriers built by years of pain. Your presence invites a man to embrace his full humanity, tears, fears, and all. You make a man cry when your love becomes the catalyst for his greatest healing and growth. You really know how to make a man cry, not because you're cruel, but because you see right through his walls, reaching places no one else ever dared. There is a power in your words that breaks the strongest armor, reminding a man that vulnerability is the deepest form of courage. You know how to unlock the floodgates of a man's heart. Sometimes, the gentlest glance from you is enough to dissolve years of silence and pain, making a man cry for all he's held inside. You have the rare gift of making a man cry by simply reminding him of his own humanity, the love he thought he lost, and the hope that still remains. Your presence stirs emotions a man thought were buried. Tears become an honest language between souls, speaking louder than any words could. It's not about breaking a man, but awakening his heart. Your touch. So deeply, you make a man cry when you expose the beautiful mess beneath his pride, showing him that real strength lies in his tears, not in hiding them. When you say the things no one else dares to say, when you show a love so raw and real, it shakes a man's world and brings tears that heal. Your honesty cuts through the noise, making a man cry not out of despair, but because he's never felt so alive and so profoundly connected. You make a man cry because you touch his soul, revealing the sacred vulnerability he's been afraid to embrace. Tears fall, not from pain alone, but from the overwhelming beauty of feeling understood by someone like you. You open the door to his deepest fears and hopes, and in that space, tears become a sacred act of release. A man cries when he realizes that with you, he doesn't have to be perfect. He only has to be real. Your voice breaks through his silence, making him cry because he finally feels safe to be everything he is. There's a softness in your gaze that reminds a man it's okay to feel, to break down, and to start again. You make a man cry when you reflect back his work, when you show him what he's been blind to all along. Sometimes, the tears a man sheds in your presence are a silent thank you for the healing you unknowingly bring. You bring light to the shadows he hides from the world, and in that light, tears flow freely, cleansing his soul. You know how to touch the heart beneath the armor, a place where tears are not shame, but power. Your love teaches a man that tears are not a sign of weakness, but a bridge to deeper strength and connection. You make a man cry when you show him the beauty of imperfection and the grace of forgiveness. There's an honesty in your touch that invites tears, because it's the first time he's met love without conditions. A man cries in your presence because you awaken emotions he didn't even know were possible to feel. You have the power to make a man cry by simply holding space for his story without judgment. Your kindness breaks down walls that years of pain built, and tears flow as a natural surrender to healing. You make a man cry because you allow him to shed the weight of pretending he's okay when he's not. Sometimes tears are the only way to express a man's gratitude for a love that truly sees him. You inspire tears because you remind a man that he is worthy of softness in a harsh world. A man cries when you show him that vulnerability is the truest form of bravery. Your presence is a balm to the wounds he thought would never heal, and tears become a quiet psalm of renewal. You make a man cry when you tell the truth he's been afraid to admit, even to himself. There is a sacredness in your gaze that touches the depths of his soul, breaking down walls and inviting tears. You teach a man that it's okay to feel deeply, to love fiercely, and to cry without shame. You make a man cry because you remind him of the beauty in raw, honest emotions. Sometimes tears are a man's silent prayer, a way of reaching out when words fail. You make a man cry when your love becomes the mirror, reflecting all he's too afraid to see. Your touch awakens a man's heart, making tears flow like a river, washing away old fears. You know how to make a man cry by loving him fiercely enough to show him his own light. A man cries in your presence because you make him believe in love again. Pure, honest, and real. You make a man cry when you reveal the beauty in his brokenness and the strength in his scars. Sometimes, the tears a man sheds are testament to the deep healing only your love can bring. You open a man's heart so wide that tears become the language of a soul set free. Your love is a safe harbor, and in your arms, a man can finally let go and cry without fear. You make a man cry by reminding him that true strength lies in the courage to feel deeply. You make a man cry because your words echo the silent struggles he's carried alone for too long. Tears come when your love uncovers a truth he buried deep beneath his pride and fears. Your presence is a mirror reflecting the parts of him he's been too scared to love. Tears follow naturally. You hold his heart with such gentle strength that tears become a language of trust and surrender. You make a man cry because in your eyes, he finally sees the courage to feel beyond the surface. Sometimes, tears are a man's quiet way of saying, I'm grateful you saw me, flaws and all. Your love dissolves the walls he's built, allowing tears to flow like rain after a long drought. You make a man cry because you remind him that vulnerability is not failure, but the path to freedom. There's a sacred beauty in the way you make a man cry. Tears that heal, release, and transform. You make a man cry by awakening the depths of emotion he's kept hidden even from himself. Your voice breaks through his silence, stirring tears that cleanse the wounds only your love can touch. You make a man cry because you give him permission to drop his mask and be wholly human. Tears fall when your love becomes the gentle reminder that he's never truly alone. You know how to make a man cry by loving him fiercely and tenderly in the same breath. There's power in your softness that breaks down his defenses and invites tears of healing. You make a man cry because your love shines light into the dark corners of his heart. Sometimes tears are the silent songs of a soul learning to trust and love again. You make a man cry by loving him with such depth that his heart can no longer hold back. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, like, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. You make a man cry because your presence is a sanctuary where he can finally breathe and feel. Tears come when your love reveals the beauty in his brokenness and the strength in his scars. You make a man cry by simply seeing him. Not the mask, not the facade, but the real him. Your love unwraps the layers of pain he's hidden, letting tears flow as a sign of healing. You make a man cry because you hold space for all his emotions, no matter how deep or dark. Sometimes tears are a man's way of honoring the journey from hurt to hope. You make a man cry when your love becomes the bridge between fear and courage. There's a sacredness in your gaze that invites tears to wash away years of silence. You make a man cry because your honesty awakens parts of him he thought were lost forever. Tears flow freely when your love makes a man feel seen, heard, and truly alive. You make a man cry by reminding him that he's worthy of all the softness he's been denying himself. Your love breaks down walls so deeply held that tears become the first step toward freedom. You make a man cry because your touch is a silent invitation to vulnerability and trust. Sometimes tears are man's way of saying, thank you for loving me when I couldn't love myself. You make a man cry when your love becomes a light in his darkest moments. There's a power in your love that makes a man brave enough to face his deepest fears. You make a man cry because your heart holds his story. With such tenderness, it melts away the pain. Tears fall when your love teaches him that healing starts with acceptance and courage. You make a man cry by loving him without conditions, without expectations. just pure presence. You make a man cry because you remind him that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. Your love awakens a man's soul, making tears the language of his rebirth. You make a man cry by showing him the beauty in his scars and the strength in his healing. Sometimes tears are the quiet prayers of a heart finally at peace in your love. Make a man cry because your love is a safe space where he can finally let go. There's a sacred tenderness in your touch that invites tears as a form of sacred release. You make a man cry when your love reveals the depth of his own capacity to feel and heal. Tears flow freely because your love dissolves the fear of being truly seen. You make a man cry by loving him with such honesty that it shakes his very foundation. Sometimes tears are the only words a man has left to express his gratitude for your love. You make a man cry because your love teaches him that vulnerability is the truest form of strength. Your love is a sanctuary where a man can be his most authentic self, tears and all. You make a man cry by gently holding his broken pieces until they become whole again. There is power in your love that invites a man to drop his defenses and embrace his truth. You make a man cry because your love is a light that guides him through his darkest nights. Tears fall when your love reminds him that healing is a journey, not a destination.